A very pleasant good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Excuse me. Magandang umaga po, magandang tanghali, magandang hapon, at magandang gabi. Welcome to our Chronicles, and this is Rita Gadi. Expectedly, we have a guest, or should have a guest, and that would be a good friend of mine all the way from Cagayan de Oro, who I think is here now in Manila, but I hope that he can be able to join us while the program is ongoing. And this is HOMOBONO ADAZA, and I hope that if he's listening in now, we've been trying to get in touch with you, Bono, so that you could join us this afternoon. But be that as it may, we'll see how it goes from here. Our original title would have been connected to, the problem that many of us are having now, which is, of course, rice. And the other title that we have done actually is to change it to memories instead of just memorize or whatever it is. Be that as it may, what is important is we are right now at a certain stage where many of our leaders, our economists, our finance experts, those in the agricultural sector, those in the Department of Trade and Industry, and everyone else that is involved as far as the staple food is concerned, which is rice actually. All of them are coming up with several suggestions, several methods of how we can be able to absorb not just the fact that there could be the dwindling supply, and of course the increase in the amount of rice per kilo. So be that as it may, whatever else they're trying to sort out, we are assured of the fact that our Secretary of Agriculture, which is the president, who is the president himself, has done several measures that ought to mitigate whatever it is that we are facing today. In fact, one of the important statements that came about was not statements, but actually the executive order was that there will be a price ceiling insofar as rice is concerned, which would have been, or actually is already being applied, which is 41 to 45 pesos per kilo. This has nothing to do with the intent to have our price of rice brought down to 20 pesos a kilo. But right now, we have this tag price, which was announced by the executive secretary and several other officials, that there will be this price ceiling as far as selling rice is concerned, between 41 to 45 pesos. And of course, many reactions came up regarding that, and that would have been the retailers themselves and several others who feel that, do I have Bono? Yes, okay, who feel that we have to come up with something more tangible as far as giving 15,000 ayuda to those who will be suffering from this. So Bono, I think, is joining us already. I'm glad that we were able to get in touch with him. Good afternoon, Bono.
Good afternoon. I'm sorry, I don't have the Zoom. If I were a crooked politician, I would have had a Zoom and everything. But
no, Bono, you do not have to be crooked for that. You just need a certain applications. Anyway, you will learn this eventually. It's not very difficult actually. You just have to install a camera in whatever it is gadget that you have there, and then I can see you and we can talk. But anyway, for whatever reason, I'm glad that you joined, Bono, because we would have had quite a discussion as far as rice is concerned. The original title of our program would have been Memo Rice, which is RICE, but now I've changed it to Memories, which I think is even more applicable to both of us. I was just I was just informing our listening public when I opened the program that one of the most important aspects of our lives, Bono and I, is that we've lived almost a century ago. So really, when we speak of a crisis, or when we speak of bounties, when we speak of straight politicians or crooked politicians, we have the memories for this. So believe us when we say that during our time, it was like this. So Bono, we now have this condition as far as rice is concerned. I just mentioned an executive order which has tagged the price of 1 kilo of rice to between 41 to 45 pesos, or 41 if that is convenient. And should there be some difficulties and problems as far as retailers are concerned, then the government is here to assist with what they call some kind of an assistance at 15,000 pesos for those that may suffer this executive order tagging the price of rice. So where does this go, Bono?
Well, executive orders, if they're not based on something solid, will not work. Alam mo, Rita, no? Going back to the 60s and the 70s and the 80s, the prices at the time were well under control. Under control. For instance, about rice, no? It doesn't have to be sold in the Kadiwa. Even the ordinary stores, the price were well managed. And not only that, you know, galunggong now, which is 260 plus, used to be 6 pesos per kilo during the time of Russia. But it's escalated to 266 now after 30 years. It's unbelievable. But, you know, galunggong was 6 during the time FM. When Cory took over, it sold up to 26. I don't know why. 26. You know, something should really be done with these things. To begin with, I've been seeing a lot of reports, no? Reports about smuggled rice, and in many in the warehouses of Bulacan. I was wondering why the government cannot take a very active role, no, in the disposing of this smuggled rice to the market. Why?
Bono, I don't think it goes, you know, when we speak of smuggled rice, it means that it's coming in illegally. But we are now allowed to import rice, so this is coming in legally. The importation comes. Pardon?
That's one. That's one. Second, why don't we talk to the middlemen? The middlemen are the problems in many of the price increases. The Secretary of Agriculture can talk with the middlemen. Why can't he talk with the middlemen? Sit down with these people, because, you know, rice is the basic commodity for food for our people on a daily basis. They should have some element of patriotism, at least sacrifice for the moment. But if the smuggled rice will be distributed and the middlemen will be under control, I'm sure the price of rice will go down. Not just be at 41 or, you know, during the time President Duterte was saying he will bring it down to 20. And now I read in the papers that he said it's a daydream. My God, it was not a daydream during his time. He could not bring it down to 20. Now, the current administration said he will bring it down to 20. Why don't we just sit down together and see whether the price of rice can be brought down to the lowest? I understand the president had signed a contract with Vietnam.
Yes.
Why don't they just import the Vietnam rice at the earliest opportunity at the price that is manageable? because 41 is not even low for the people.
Yeah.
Good God.
Yeah, what's happening, Bono? I think that's exactly what the president is doing. I mean, he realizes the fact that it is not yet harvest season. We have been afflicted by a number of typhoons that have destroyed large acreage of farmlands, and so that is the reason why they say that there could be a scarcity, but actually there is not a scarcity. So that was the necessary order that had to be given as far as tapping the price of rice is concerned. But he is doing exactly what you're saying, that during this period when we're not yet harvesting and that there will be a lessening of supply, then there is importation actually that's being done. So there is no need to smuggle actually, because importation is allowed after all. But what is happening now is something that is being created by so many different elements, as you said. The president meets with a number of groups, actually, not just the middlemen. He talks to Confederation of Farmers, etc. He talks to those, yes, in the retail industry. He talks to big corporations, small corporations, all of those in the medium scale industries and all. And I gather at this stage that he has more or less a wide view of where this is all coming from. But let's get back in time so that we can, not to compare, but to find out how crisis or difficult situations were taken care of. Remember how it was when people had to line up, as a matter of fact, just to buy a kilo of rice. That was when there was a scarcity. And then there was a time when we were harvesting quite a lot, and that we even had to export. So these are the seasons that have passed through our agricultural landscape. And so we somehow go back and forth to find out how we were able to absorb it then and how we should be absorbing it today.
You know, Rita, the concentration of this administration should not be expecting the rice planters to do anything about this for the moment. It's really importation and confiscation of the smuggled rice. Importation, that's the short-term solution. That's the short-term solution. You know, subsidizing the retailers doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense to me. Subsidizing them. Just confiscate the rice that are in many of the rices. As a matter of fact, one of my clients came here because he was informed that there is a lot of rice for sale in warehouses in Bulacan. And when he went there, he was only told to show the money. So he was telling me, this is hold up. I want to see their warehouses full of rice, and then I'll bring in the buyers in the bank, and the payment will be made in the bank. You know, the government should do something intelligent. Confiscate this rice. Never mind the hullabaloo in how to do the confiscation. They should know the law. They should know the law. Confiscate them and then import for now. Import for now from Vietnam or from any other place. Wherever we can get the rice, not the very expensive rice, but the rice that is really for ordinary people like me. I can afford 65. If possible, it can be brought down to 30. And I think it's not a daydream bringing the price of rice to 20 if you only use your coconut shell. God's sake.
For God's sake, indeed. I think that's where the president is stretching himself really insofar as coming up. He said we are working at it, and I think that is precisely why a lot of other movements are happening, not just in the agricultural sector, because remember that some time back, there was this nationwide coverage we had regarding the farmers who have been beneficiaries of the land reform program. And then, of course, they had an emancipation undertaken so that whatever it is that they owe the government in the past has already been actually taken away, so they don't have to suffer as far as that's concerned. But then the question goes back to, if they still are holding 7 hectares as it was in the law, that did not seem to have worked quite well from the time that we had the land reform law passed, because it's been what, 50 years or so, and we still have the same problem with the agricultural sector. So even with land reform, something still has to be done other than just emancipating them from whatever loans they may have in the past. And I think the president was aware, he was aware of this. As a matter of fact, together with the Secretary of Agriculture, who's the grandson, I understand, of Ninong Condring Estrella. Yeah. So that was how it was.
You know, I remember very well Speaker Laurel, because this boils down to a very major solution to the way we think in this country. Leadership on any level. In the words of Speaker Laurel, while we were together in the Batasang Pambansa, what you need is utak sa bayag and bayag sa utak.
Oh dear.
God, in your fault and balls in your brains. Having brains and with the balls to make decisions, to make the right decisions. The problem is a wishy-washy attitude towards the situation. We know very well that we are always plagued with typhoons. Why didn't the decision makers think about this problem, and they would have imported rice so that there will be so much rice here in the country, it will be imported in subsidizing the retailers. In Japan, Rita, before anything is done by government, with the strategic components of those who make decisions and implement the decisions. The problem here is we don't do it.
Yeah, well, that's one situation where a lot of people have commented insofar as these problems are concerned, not just with rice, but just about whenever there is an issue that is brought out, then they're actually asking as far as the activities undertaken by the different executive offices. So, time was when you had the presidential management staff that took care of summarizing exactly the different activities and problems of the executive offices, and then bring this out during cabinet meetings so that they could be immediately taken care of. And I remember a long time ago, that was how President Marcos would sometimes begin a cabinet meeting. Anong problema ngayon? So first things first was what problems are we going to solve easily? So what we see now is actually our president meeting with his cabinet quite often. Bono, I see this sometimes twice, 3 times a week. If not, he meets with several sectors, private and public sectors, to discuss several issues. He has just returned from his visit, and that his official trip to Indonesia for the ASEAN, with the side meetings that he had with several other countries, South Korea, India, Australia, the United States of America. Vice President Kamala Harris was there, and several others. So here we could see already the feedback that's coming from there. You mentioned something about importing rice from Vietnam. He also had a meeting with... Yes.
It doesn't take much to import rice if you have the money. Does it take much? And Rita, for instance, you are mentioning about the president having gone to the 43rd ASEAN summit with other summits with Canadians and Americans. Our point is this: there is so much talk. The Americans were assuring the president, the Australians were assuring the president, the Japanese were assuring the president that they will help the country in even the bringing of food for our soldiers in Sierra Madre. And I just saw the footages today. I didn't see any Australian ships, Japanese ships, American ships. Well, our ships were beleaguered by no less than 15 ships from the Chinese. World Bank
I don't think they could sail immediately after the closing of the ASEAN Summit, Bono. But they did make promises, and I think they were also signing several agreements as far as trade is concerned and several other issues. And that's a good sign insofar as assistance is coming. It doesn't take, I mean, it's not an immediate thing that the following day it's here. But I believe that that has already established better relationships and better kind of coordination with all of these countries. You mentioned something about talking, but that's exactly what these meetings are all about. Most of the time, it's really just a lot of talk until you come down to the table where you sign certain documents, where you have the testimonies of
No.
officials that will actually be doing these things, you know.
Let me just say, the president has been going to various countries in the world for the past 12 months. What he got in terms of dollars are assurances of investments, no more than 20 million, no more than $20 billion in a period of 1 year, but not $1 has reached here in the Philippines. There is money here. Why don't they concentrate on the recovery and the recovery of this money here, right here in our own country, in banks, in bankers? Why don't they do that? Instead of going around the world, these people just make commitments about investments. God's sake, I didn't see a single dollar after the $20 billion investment promised by so many countries, the United States, Europe, Japan.
It does take a while, I understand, because when this was being questioned as far as the different department heads are concerned, that's exactly what they were saying. They're streamlining all of these investments that are coming in because there are priorities also where they should go. So I understand that these are all in the process of already being activated in a way. So 12 months or so, well, maybe within the year before the end of the second year of our president's term, we can be already benefited by all of these promises of investments.
Rita, let's talk money.
Okay.
We have clients here who claim that they have so much, some of them are trustees of FM, that there is so much money in the banks here and in neighboring countries. But let's concentrate in the banks here.
Okay.
There's one of those that is 1.3 trillion US dollars
Oh, wow.
in the bank. Why don't they just verify whether it exists or not? There's a signature by president or vice president of the bank. And then they can talk Turkey. 1.3 trillion dollars is more than 60 trillion pesos. And the debt of this country is only 14.1 trillion as of today.
Oh, wow.
14.1 And the party who claims that is 1.3 trillion will share it to the government. Why don't they just verify whether it exists or not? It will take only a day.
Oh, wow, Bono. That's a lot. Yeah, that's a lot of money, Bono. My goodness. I mean, are you at liberty now to inform the president what banks have this money? Or
the problem is this president cannot hear. His ears. He's only listening to his saxophone and to his wife and to his flatterer. God's sake. The country is suffering. 47% of the Filipinos claim they are poor. And according to President Bush, this is the richest country in the world. How does it happen that in the richest country in the world, 40% of the population claims they are poor? That's more than 50 million. Why don't they just use their heads?
Yeah, but Bono, I don't think this has reached the president as yet. Have you tried contacting our finance people in the central bank, for instance, Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas? They would have an idea of what you are...
The city kasi, Rita, is the president does not believe that there is gold in this country and there are money in the bank originating, most of them originating from Ferdinand, Adrian, and Marcos. and if he doesn't know it, there's something wrong somewhere.
Oh my goodness. Yes, there is something very wrong somewhere if this is not made aware, being made
There is-
aware insofar as the banking system is concerned, and of course our president. So let's hope that through this program it will reach him somehow to get in touch with you, so that that's a lot of money that your clients or your friends are holding in our banks, which could really solve our financial problems. My goodness, Bono, you're sitting on so much wealth, and it's about time that this be tapped now, especially.
Yeah, I just want to sit down if he hasn't got time with his Secretary of Justice or his economic managers.
Yes, okay. So let's call the attention of Secretary Remulla and of course Secretary Diokno and
Yeah,
the,
report to your hospital. I don't think it's time for this. And Mr. Diokno thinks he's genius and he doesn't listen to anybody. You know, if I'm president, I'll fire this person. I'll fire this, my Secretary of Finance. Why? He was responsible with Duterte and Sandy Dominguez for the rise of the national debt from 6 million up to 13.1 trillion.
oh my
Number one.
goodness. Okay, so let's leave that to those. Yeah.
Yeah, still thanks to the creation of Marlica. They still continue with Marlica. Why don't they listen to him really? He's the chief legal advisor. And really has more brains than many of them there. Why don't they listen to him?
Oh yes,
Instead of
why
using-
don't you, Bono, get in touch with Minister Juan Ponce Enrile so that this could reach the president as fast as it should, actually. Anyway, so here we are, Bono, with this situation. Yes.
Man, I just continue writing and talking with you in your program.
No, but let's not limit ourselves to just talking, Bono. You also mentioned how it was during all of this summit meetings. But let's shift to another subject, because as far as rice is concerned, there's so many suggestions about the what is this? I wrote it down that the retailers have to be contacted, that there should be this rice trade liberalization law which has to be looked into. Then we have the NFA, then we have the different other agencies of government that will have to be getting together so that we can at least establish some kind of a broader horizon as far as rice is concerned. We are going to have elections, Bono, for the barangay. And many times in the past, there have been a lot of issues being raised as far as the barangay is concerned. Yes.
Election useless for barangay and to begin with, most of the barangays are infected with shabu.
Oh my goodness.
Many people are involved, including people in government. Election, they should be appointing people who have integrity and character and who wants to save this country from all this foolishness. You know, elections, gasto na naman ng pera sa gobyerno, hindi lang sa gobyerno, yung mga tao bumibili ng mga boto. I don't know, it's disgusting, that's the word.
Bono, that suggestion about barangay officials being appointed, that has been raised several times, several years back, as a matter of fact, and quite often, that what has happened to the smallest political unit of our country has not progressed the way it should. It should have addressed itself precisely for the welfare of the people in that barangay, but it has not performed in such a manner. It has graduated, as you said, into, well, not too pleasant and not too healthy a political unit as it should have been. So it is a little too late now to say that we have to abolish the barangay and just have them appointed. We need
abolish the election.
Abolish all elections, Bono?
In this kabataan, etc.
Yes.
No, election. Appoint people who have character, who have values, who have discipline, who have integrity. You know, you don't get these things in an election. We know that.
Exactly. That's
true. Of Congress. Do you think they will pass the examination with these parameters used as tests? So it's about time we start thinking on what to do.
But
We're just
we
we're
ca-
just following the traditional.
we
You
we
have to
have
think.
but Bono, we have to go through a process as far as removing elections are concerned, or the barangay elections for that matter, because that is already a law. So is it sufficient for Congress to pass a law just to abolish the elections for the barangays, or should there be some changes in the Constitution so that this will be part of the fundamental law?
The Constitution should be revised totally. It should be reduced to 8 to 10 pages, maybe less.
I agree with that, Mono. We've worked on this for quite a while. I think, yeah,
Sure. And we'll have new leaders.
yes.
There will be a system change here. People are already thinking of the traditional, all institutions, even churches. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to.
No, go ahead, because that is very important to cite that out, you know.
Rita, I have to let go of my rights, otherwise I'll jump out of the window from my office.
No, no way, Bono. We've gone through this for quite a while. Oh, way back when we were still very active in the politics in Mindanao. I think we were one of the first there in the 1960s, as a matter of fact, when we were already working.
But
Yeah.
I enjoyed every moment of my life. He sent me to jail on the issue of subversion. 1 year, 6 months, and 11 days. I don't blame him. I blame him for not killing me. I'm doing this now.
You know, Bono, we should not tire doing this, because we've been together for quite a while, more than 60 years, as a matter of fact, if we have to go back in time. These are the memories that we have, which I think continues to this day.
I keep on writing with the voice. I explode. I have to write poetry. I have to write my comments in Facebook, because
Yes, that's a very good, yeah. Not only is it an outlet, but it is also quite enlightening when we read this. But Mono, I have a request. Could you please, yeah,
I'm terrified by what I see about the present and the future of this country and the way we are going. I am really terrified.
were you terrified in the past, or is this terror just coming now?
I've only three. I've only 3 grandchildren.
There
So
should
that's the solid thought.
anyway, well, at least you have 3. I only have, well, anyway. So here we are, Bono, at this particular stage. I was saying that way back, we were one of the first actually in Mindanao who was voicing out our need for the federal form of government, and many other things that ought to have been changed. And as you said, it is not just a matter of amending the Constitution, it is writing a new Constitution. And how long ago has it been that we were together in a radio program actually discussing this?
Rita, I thought Ferdinand Edwin Marquez so hard, but we conversed civilly, and he listened. He listened, and if he thought it's correct, he implemented it. He was trying to convince me to join him. I just could not, on issues of principles and integrity and character and discipline. But put all the presidents together, from Corazon Aquino to the present one, all of them combined cannot compare with Ferdinand and Marcos. I'm sorry to say that for them. So I fought him so hard.
Yes, I agree. I agree completely, Bono. That you're very correct as far as that's concerned. And one of the privileges and honor that I may have had was to have been able to work during that particular period. But as we've talked about this quite often, there are many things that really have to be done, which is not being done. And there are many things that we have to look forward to, which we do not see anymore. In other words, there was a time when we could see some clear vision of a horizon in front of us, but now it seems that we have to straighten out again many of the things that will have to be done first before we could look to another future that we're still hoping for. But I have confidence, Mona, always in the Filipino. It's not just on the leadership or those in public office, but on the Filipino himself, herself, who can be able to bring out a transformation. You've spoken of this quite often. Some kind of a purgation first and then a transformation. And maybe we are not too late, or are we too early when we start talking about this again and again as we have done in the past. These are the memories that we share, Bono.
Soon enough, my book will come out. It's New Horizons. New Horizon, a manual to build the country.
Uh-huh.
If I have the money, I want it published by December.
Very good. Yes, that's very good. But Bono, I just have a request. Yeah.
I will discuss the contents of the book, since nobody is interested to read in this country, I think. I don't know.
You know, Bono, that's another issue that we have to raise, because reading has been limited to what is in front and touched by the fingers of most people, which is the cell phone, which ought to contain whatever it is that people are looking for. But before I go into that subject, Bono, first I have a request. I have been reading your posts on Facebook and several other whenever you write this, but one thing I have to request, Bono, your Visayan poems are not translated in English, so I have a difficult time because some of the Visayan words are a little too deep for me. Makasulti man ako bisan gamay, but to read it in poetry, oh my goodness, it's a different thing altogether. But you come up with images, and so I have a difficulty really going through your poetry in Visayan.
Well, I translate them to English. I'll just do a Neruda and Octavio Paz.
Oh my goodness, yes. Their books are both in Spanish and in English, of course, yes. Two of my favorites. And so with Rilke, the German poet also has, his books are published in two languages, in English and in German, the way, as he said, Octavio Paz and Pablo Neruda likewise. I have the complete poems of these two poets, actually. So that is where you should be doing your Visayan poems translated into English likewise, so that
I agree.
yeah, because I have a difficult time reading the Visayan, although I wish I were adept in it. I can just converse with it, but the images that you come up with, I don't have the translation for many of the, even the Filipino translation, as a matter of fact, is difficult already to decipher when it comes to translating this into English. But anyway, let's get to what you said earlier, that people hardly read anymore. What they read is what's just between their fingers, and that's contained in that gadget which we know as the cell phone, and that is the method of communication and the source of information, whether it is artificial information or whether artificial intelligence, or whether it is fake or manufactured or fabricated. Who can tell? I mean, that's it. It's there, and people digest this or read this and believe it most of the time and have no way of verifying. And with that gadget, we are now invaded with, as I mentioned, artificial intelligence. Then you have this chat, GPTs or whatever else it's called, where,
intelligence, Rita, not the artificial. I don't care if the artificial is better, but the real, actual intelligence is good for me.
but we are so dependent now on artificial intelligence. The GPS that we're actually so dependent on whenever we travel, or when we ask for directions, or even when you consult your mobile phone for certain applications. It's all there. This is all artificial artificial intelligence, Bono.
But I had a friend who has a daughter who wanted to produce a thesis, and she's having a difficult time. So she went to internet and artificial intelligence, and bingo, she came out with a thesis that evaded her for quite some time.
Oh yeah, they can compose essays. As a matter of fact, just give them the subject matter and that's it. They can have it all streamlined for you. And that is exactly where we go back to what we have earlier discussed a long time ago, the system of education, the kind of a curricula that we have from the from a 3-year-old getting to school first all the way to college, you know. So many subjects are no longer there. Many subjects should be there. And that is exactly why our...
And my proposal there in the New Horizon is to reduce the number of years that people stay in college, because it's not the number of years you stay in college. PhDs, there are so many PhDs who do not compare with people who have not even finished high school in terms of achievement. So we should compress the years and compress the curriculum. But there are so many things there that should not be there.
And so many things that should be there are no longer there, Bono.
Oh,
Like, for instance, I would always want to insist that there should at least be some subjects in logic, some subjects in ethics, and then, of course, in the earlier years, you know, subjects such as, well, we already had this before, good character and right conduct. And then in college, what is basic, I would...
conduct. Conduct. From 4 up to grade 7. When there was still grade 7.
Yes, yes. And then, of course, and they've removed a number of subjects also in college. They find this no longer necessary. Humanities, for instance, is no longer there. Basic philosophy subjects also are no longer there. Logic is very crucial because that is the basis of correct thinking. And of course, ethics, which is, as you said,
something important. It's very, very important. I don't know why they don't have it anymore.
So that is why they don't have it anymore, because they feel that the other subjects are more important. But a lot of subjects that we should have, we are an agricultural country, but there is no attraction whatsoever in agricultural subjects.
They're not capable of critical thinking. They're not even capable of looking at their face in the mirror.
Which is what they see. You were mentioning, yeah, yes, Mono.
We should have system change really in this country, and we will not have rice problems. Many of these problems can be solved with the use of normal intelligence. Many of them.
Common sense, as a matter of fact.
Yes.
Yeah.
No rice problem, no drug problem, no graft and corruption problem. It can be done. In the words of Napoleon Bonaparte, the impossible can only be found in the dictionary of fools.
Exactly. But Bono, you know how it is nowadays. A lot of pollution comes in, not just in what we read and what we see, but also what infiltrates the mind in such a way, because entertainment, etc., the movies, things that we view, whatever else they're coming from, there is really should be, as you said, we have to learn how to decipher what is good and what is bad. That is the fundamental. There is no longer a dividing line as to what is right and what is wrong, what is evil and what is not evil. So this gets mixed up as far as not just in studies, but also in the way our children are being brought up rather. So, you know.
If there are people like you and there is a program like yours, this country will have a future.
Oh, congratulations to the media as far as that's concerned. If only more of them. Yeah.
The more, it's about time to close the whole thing. Because, you know, when when people are not capable of critical thinking, of thinking what is right and what is wrong, and what needs to be done and what needs not to be done, the society will collapse. So I'm glad that you still have this program and we can.
Yeah, we can converse, but as I've said, people like you, Bono, people should understand how important it is to elevate our thinking in such a manner that you can create with your mind. To write poetry is a creative activity, and as Einstein would say, imagination is the food of the soul, and between imagination and knowledge, I would choose imagination. So
Right.
that is where it is. Walt Disney said that, what you think is impossible is possible. If you think it, you can make it. If you think it, you can create it. That's exactly what has happened as far as Hollywood is concerned. But
Looking at the quotation of Robert Kennedy, which I keep on repeating every now and then, which the basic or general ideas actually came from Bernard Shaw. No? People see things as they are and ask why. I dream of things that never were and ask
why not? Precisely. That is where we have to encourage many of our, not just students, but all those that are in that particular stage when they get into inquiries and they're curious about things. And that is where I think, as you said, reading is the most important element as far as the function, letting the brain function as it should, instead of the shortcutting of all the electrical waves that are between the ears, with artificial intelligence and all of these things that can be read so easily in your mobile phone. We should have libraries in every barangay. Here we are again with the barangay. In every sitio, there should be libraries. Sometime back, Bono, we just dependent on the encyclopedia, but what a beautiful kind of dependence it was. Because
Rita, you mentioned that people still really read, When I was governor of Misamis Oriental, I donated 2,400 of my books to the municipal libraries of every town. Each town, we have 24 towns. I contributed 100 books for each of the 24 towns and they built a library. And I think they're still that until now.
this is very important. That's one of the advocacies that we've been talking about, and that is one of the reasons why now that we're going to have barangay elections, we have all these questions again. Do we look at qualifications as far as the candidates are concerned, or are they just waiting for, as you said, magkano ba ang binabayad para boboto ka and all of this? And we've had already a number of violent incidents, even with the filing of certificates of candidacy. This is all over the country, quite prevalent now, which is quite sad. And then, of course, that fundamental question, are barangays still relevant as far as our political system is concerned? And when we speak of the politics presently, sayang, kasi the origin of that very word is polis, which is people. And the people are the ones that are forgotten first, as far as the candidates are concerned. Ang dami niyang questions dyan talaga, Bono. Kaya, when we speak of,
Rita, I remember when I campaigned in New province. My opponent na nilangaw yung mga rallies niya. At yung sa akin, dinumog ng maraming tao. At sabi niya, okay, ang tao kay Bono, pero ang boto kay Pedro.
Ay, nako talaga, Bono. We keep on sighing, but just for those who were tuned in with us and listening, and perhaps those that will be listening much later, Bono and I go back and forth in time. Our memories are,
Until the time comes that the government can produce a rice at 20 pesos. Okay. Yes, it's daydreaming.
Yeah.
It can be done.
It can be done, yes. And that's exactly what President Jr. has been saying. We are moving towards it. We're working at it. A lot of interference comes in. And there is always, as you've said this also many times, Bono, there is always the hope that
Yes.
there will always be that horizon that you're writing about, so that we can have a clearer view of what it is that we're looking forward to. But a vision is most important, especially if you are in a position of leadership. And this refers to many of those that sit in positions of government that will have to look not just on the table where they're meeting, but beyond that to the people, because that's exactly what politics is all about. So here we are again, Bono, you and I, as we have been in the past, exclaiming until we get hoarse that certain things have to be done because they can be done. And we're still hoping for that, right, Bono?
Yes. We should continue to rage because even in the darkest of night, if we continue to rage, there will always be a silver lining.
Rage, rage against the dying of the light. We will not let that light die down, you know. Because one of the most important aspects of that horizon that you're talking about, Bono, is that inspiration that somewhere, somehow, you know, as you said, out of 110 million Filipinos, there will be several geniuses that could rise up, and you know, and every once in a while we read of them, but we need more. And you know, we have them to be purified first, or what you said, to be purgated, so that we can come to that renaissance as we hope for.
That day will come, Lisa. That day will come. So the day for the Filipino, or my term is the day for the Mindanao. Because I want to change the name of this country, Filipino, no. The day of the Mindanao will come.
Yes,
Well,
Mindanao. Oh my goodness, we have been waiting. You know, we in Mindanao have been waiting for that, and that we're hoping that somewhere the investments that are being promised us would reach our island. We still need the crisscrossing of the transport system of the railways. We have,
It's coming.
yes.
Rita is coming. My client has the complete blueprint.
Oh,
And probably within a year, he'll get money to build that.
oh, wonderful.
railway.
Yeah,
Yeah.
wonderful.
That's why I'm suggesting the government should be able to help. Like my client has all these plans. The initial investment sana, complete ang project, is 5 billion. And the governor of the central bank, the chairman of the AMLC, tells me, Bon, we cannot do anything about that. You have to talk to the president.
Well, let's hope that through this program we'll be reaching some of those that are close to the president, and they will contact you so that we could have that as soon as possible, because this is the stage where the whole world, as a matter of fact, is already at the brink of so many crises. Climate change has affected many countries. You have floods, you have extreme heat.
It's critical in almost all levels.
Yes. And-
Education
yes.
is critical, food is critical, graft and corruption is critical, illegal drugs is critical, lack of values is critical, lack of character and integrity is critical. So many things are critical in this country that, as once somebody said, if we do not straighten up, soon enough, probably will become a province of China or a colony of the United States.
No, I don't think so. I would hope not so, because in spite of all of the difficulties and problems that we're facing, as we've said, we have faith in the Filipino, and that's exactly where you and I, Bono, will have to keep on reminding ourselves and each other that there is some greatness within each of us, so that that could rise up, not just in the creative functions of our mind, but also in the compassion that we have for one another. Because in the basis of all of this, in the fundamentals of it all, it is really love that will, as they say, will be the strongest energy that can solve many things.
If I don't love this country, I would have migrated a long time ago, because Siam has offered so many interesting and very lucrative positions outside the country. But I even brought scholarships from some of the best universities in the United States because I love pursuing things here for the people.
Exactly.
I'm not stopping.
That's very true. And yeah, and for those, yeah, for the generation of today who probably think that Bono Adaza is just a name in history, well, he has lived through the best and the worst of times and continues to bring out the best in many of us. So that's Bono Adaza. In the opposition, in the with the government, wherever he is, he stands really as an enlightening and an inspiring person. Bono, we have a lot of people that are actually tuned in to our program. So let me see how several of them. Virgilio Villanueva, Dan Light, good afternoon. Ma'am Rita, Marga M, hello. Hello, Miss Rita. Hello, Sir Bono Adaza. Gandhi, what a name. Yes, Lloyd, CP, good event from Australia. Proud KBL and Marcos loyalist. Yes, from Australia. Yes, we've just had several meetings of our president. Anyway, with that country's leaders likewise. Judy Comide, it's been a long time po. Madam Rita Gadi, hello po. Andres Teves, good evening, Bono and Rita. Please encourage students the habit of reading subjects like math, science, humanities, critical thinking, back to basics, writings in poetry, the old school. Yes, thank you very much for that reminder. And several others. Bono Adaza writes poetry, but mostly in Hiligaynon and in Bisaya. So I'm asking him to translate this into English. So, well, anyway, so other than that, listen to music in the early morning when you wake up, dance before you start doing your work during the day, wherever you're working. So many things that can be done, many things that you must enjoy, many things that you can look forward to, at least whatever it is. So, Bono Adaza, thank you very much for having joined us.
Well, thank you, Rita, and may God bless all of us and this country. And we look forward to a new day.
Yes, Bono. Yeah, thank you very much. I'd like to start today with what we were doing in the past, which is to close a program with a prayer. And so today I'd like to read some of the lines from Rabindranath Tagore, where the mind is without fear and the head is held high, where knowledge is free, where the world is not broken up into fragments, where words come out from the depth of truth, where tireless striving stretches its arms towards perfection, where the clear stream of reason has not lost its way, where the mind is led forward by Thee, O Lord, into the ever-widening thought and action to love one another as God has loved us, into that heaven of freedom. Our Father, let our country awake. So thank you very much for having joined us with Bono Adaza. This is Rita Gadi for the Chronicles.
God bless.